quite vigorously from that time, and we are still continuing with that. But we are having a slight different approach now. Instead of including just the chula and the biogas work and all, we have included a lot more under the climate change work, like adaptation, related to adaptation and mitigation as well. And so I'm happy that we have only increased the work area more. Whatever initial work Mrs. Balakrishnan did, we are able to carry it forward. I'm happy about that. And I'm also happy that INFORSE, with whom we are having almost more than 2 decades engagement, and Gunnar is going to tell us all about our work with them. We have done some projects in India also with them, I think with INSEDA and INFORSE. In Eco Village Development Project we did in India as well, in recent times, as much as I remember. So I really hope that we continue with this association even for future, and we are able to do. Hopefully, we'll be able to do more projects with them and more engagement with them. Thank you so much, Gunnar and Judy, for being here, and thank you, Usha. Thank you.
Thank you, Kalyani, for that. And now I'll briefly introduce Gunnar. He is MSc in Energy Engineering, and he has been associated with INFORSE right from the beginning, 1992. He has been involved in a large number of projects, developing plans and scenarios for transition of countries to 100% renewable energy. His main work is concentrated on renewable and sustainable energies. Then promoting renewable energy and energy efficiency, including local solutions. That is very important for us, because he has been conducting programs to highlight local solutions in different countries. And they have just concluded an Eco Village project, which they had the concluding webinar yesterday. And really remarkable work has been done on this project, and very small solutions, local solutions were highlighted. So that is where organizations like AIWC can involve with them and make use of his expertise in this field. Then currently he's working on projects on, again, another important subject for us, transition to sustainable lifestyles. Because lifestyles have been highlighted in COP agreements right from Paris Agreement. So it is a very important area where a lot of work can be done. Sustainable lifestyles, that is how to alter our lifestyles to limit climate change. So this is again one area where we can work along with Gunnar and Judith and INFORSE. So with that brief introduction, I invite Mr. Gunnar Olesen to make his presentation, please.
Thank you very much. We've divided I'm here together with Judith Soletsky. I think before I share the screen, I'll just quickly introduce her. She's been working also with the INFORSE network for many years. She's the editor of our Sustainable Energy News and newsletter, and she's also Master in Science and Engineering like myself. And she's been in charge of a number of projects, but also on our outreach and communication, and organizing several of these exhibitions we have had also together with AIWC. So I'm happy that I can share the presentation with her also. But let me start by sharing the screen and take a little move back to how we have actually been cooperating, some of the issues that we have been cooperating with in the past. And I'll just see if I can make it work. So, yes, back in, you probably all knew or at least heard about Lalita Balakrishnan, who was leading the AIWC Rural Energy Department for a number of years, and was also advisory board for the INFORSE newsletter Sustainable Energy News, and written articles and news from India and from AIWC. And she's when she was with that role, AIWC was not only member of INFORSE, but also national and gender focal point. And in 1995, she represented INFORSE as the big World Summit in Beijing about where gender was higher on the agenda, and where we also think we have a role in the gender issues, because many of the local solutions actually have a gender aspect. And she provided input for a manual we were doing in 2008. And back then, in the year 2000, we just have here as a, you can see how many things that of local energy solutions that AIWC was actually doing in those years. And also starting microcredit programs and a number of different things. And then in 2008, we started to follow the climate negotiations more in detail. And also here, AIWC was with INFORSE and promoted, for instance, solar dryers by women. And we jumped, and over the years, there's been several occasions together, but here we jumped to 2011, COP17 in South Africa. And we like to highlight sustainability news, our newsletter, but we also have several articles. Here's one issue about solar, well, the article about solar lanterns done by AIWC. Judith, you can continue.
Yeah, and then we are in 2013 in Warsaw. I mean, where Kalyani and Usha was there on the side events. Here there is a report of a workshop we have done together in a project about climate mitigation and poverty alleviation through advocacy and awareness on low carbon technologies. Here you can see the solar dryer. Here in 2015, we are in Bonn, where Kalyani was there and also participated in the side event. This is Paris, where there is also COP21. And here is, you can see Kalyani and Usha and me in Morocco and Katowice at the exhibition of INFORSE. And we often made also exhibitions together with All India Women Conference. This is Madrid 2019, COP25, where you can see also Kalyani here in the panel. Then All India Women Conference also contributed in the latest database on local solutions with 4 cases, and also a case to the on lifestyles to an EU Horizon project. And we have also met many of you in Dubai just now in 2023. That was a short pictures about our cooperation before.
And now we quickly change to a presentation more about what INFORSE is. And I'm just sharing the screen again with another presentation, which is this one. No, I think I have to do it another way. Sorry. Just a moment, there's a little technical problem here. So now I hope you can see my screen again.
Yes.
And I'll jump to the next slide. Yeah, so this is a little bit of the history. I start all the way back in 1987, because that was actually when, I mean, this history goes back to, I mean, why do we have INFORSE at all? This is just the beginning. The United Nations published Our Common Future, calling for sustainable development to be taken serious, but also calling for a world meeting. And that was the 1992 World UN Conference on Environment and Development called UNCED. And for that one, a group of scientists and civil society organizations tried to make the countries come together and form a world organization for renewable energy. But that was without success. United States and several other countries did not want to have a UN organization on that topic. And they didn't want more UN organizations at all in that time. So as we already, part of that work had been getting together civil society organizations from all over the world, then we made a call for sustainable energy that we promoted at the UNCED conference. And many joined this call. So at UNCED, we decided, since we could not form, or we could not persuade the countries to act, we formed ourselves a civil society organization with civil societies, NGOs from all continents. And then in each country, that was not actually each continent, but established a regional INFORSE as INFORSE South Asia for India and the Indian subcontinent. And in South Asia, Raymond Miles, who was a founding member, also became coordinator, and he organized members in the region and started regional activities in 1993, or maybe already in 1992, as Usha mentioned, that AIWC was there from the very start. Then I'm jumping to 1999, with the INFORSE members adopted the INFORSE Charter, which was then finalized in the year 2000. And a little bit what is actually behind this, what is it that we are together on? So we work for a vision where, with a world where energy services necessary for a just human development are provided in a sustainable way using renewable energy. And our mission is to make a global network of independent non-governmental organizations working for sustainable energy solutions to reduce poverty and protect the environment. And therefore, we work to poverty reduction with increased access to energy, have energy as a basis for income, reduce pollution, and reduce tragedy of women. And environmental protection to reduce pollution and greenhouse gases to sustainable levels and phase out nuclear power also. And with the aims, we have the intermediate aims of the network on awareness raising and advocacy. It's a lot to communicate experiences of members to the, well, both to each other, but also to policymakers, both nationally and internationally. And since we're an international network, we are more focused on climate negotiations and other international bodies. Then we also have an aim of capacity building to enable facilitating and utilizing sustainable energy. We have an aim of institutional reform, so there's a level playing field for renewable energy. So it's not the fossil fuel which would be subsidized and favored, but also social environmental costs included in energy. So the pollution is factored in. And on research and development, we also have an aim to upgrade traditional technologies and have technology transfer. So that's in short. This is a shortened version. The charter itself that you can find on the INFORSE website is telling the same thing in a few more words. We have a structure. We have a secretariat in Denmark. We have all members support the INFORSE Charter, and they are non-governmental, non-profit organizations. So universities or companies cannot be members. But they can be contacts and receive regular email news and sustainable energy news. Lately, it's been very expensive to send out post, so it's mainly by email we are communicating. But we still send out to a number of contacts and to our members at least once a year sustainable energy news. We have the structure with independent regions where they can have a formal or informal structures and can have 1 or 2 coordinators. And we have coordinators in Europe where we typically have one for East and West. We have West Africa, an organization called ENDA in Dakar. In Senegal, we have in East Africa, Tatedo, which is in Tanzania, covering also the other countries in East Africa like Kenya and Uganda. South Asia, where it's in SEDA. East Asia is not really working anymore. We had ICEP, but they didn't. But in Latin America, we now have, 1 or 2 coordinators, Redes in Argentina. And in some countries with several members, one member is a national focal point, we have that mostly in South Asia. And today, INFORSE is a network of 140 NGOs worldwide, but 80 are in Europe, so it's a lot in Europe actually. It's an international voice of NGOs promoting renewable and energy efficiency. We publish sustainable energy news. We follow climate negotiations, and we have low carbon development strategies and sustainable energy visions and scenarios. We are active in EU climate policies, and we have these eco-village solutions for climate. And there's some pictures like you saw before, both from our exhibitions, but also some of our publications, like we have the social technical manual you can find on our website about how to implement the local solutions. We also are working on what's the climate effect of doing this, and there's a white paper there, and now we recently published an assessment report from our eco-village development. Then we follow the climate negotiations both as COPs and also at sessions in Bonn. Of course, it's mainly linked, the whole organization of the network is linked to projects, so it's mainly depending on the projects we have. There we organize side events with members and exhibitions. We work with the Climate Action Network, and I'm active as CAN Technology Group. It depends on the situation. There's also now a global stocktake group up to this COP, which was about global stocktake of the climate plans, and now maybe there's an active energy group that I should maybe join. But others can join also if you're interested to follow these negotiations more in detail. So let me know if you want. We can organize it. One of you also can participate in one of the Climate Action Network groups. And this allows members to participate in climate negotiations and make their voices heard. And we have an ECOSOC and UNFCCC registration. So we are working on this low emissions strategies, low carbon, and 100% renewable energy. We have made plans for 10 countries in EU and mainly European countries, but lately also for Kenya and Uganda. We had a transition plans until 2030, 2040, or 2050, depending on the country. And in the plans, we focus on local solutions, and also another issue is to make biomass sustainable. Too many countries are overusing the biomass, and some rich countries are importing a lot of biomass from other countries, which means that maybe their own biomass is sustainable, but on the global scale, they're not sustainable. And we also have worked on these low carbon development projects in East Africa, West Africa, and South Asia in cooperation with the Climate Action Network. And one of the things in that, but also more in general with the eco-village development, others, we are promoting local solutions for cooking, like livelihood and small business. And we find that many of our members are on the forefront of technology and promotion of improved cook stoves, biogas, institutional commercial stoves, bakeries even. solar home systems, solar lanterns, simple solar dryers, even multifunctional platforms, which is like a machine that is producing that you have in a village where you don't have electricity, but then you can have this machine which gives electricity or drive mills and other things. And we focus, and this can be seen as climate solutions, but our focus is just as much solutions that reduce poverty more efficiently than centralized solutions, because they are available, because of the costs, that they are affordable, they have reliability. So if you look at the for instance, this about improved cook stoves. I mean, the situation is that in many countries, there has been a drive towards other solutions like LPG gas, which has worked in some parts, but many parts of the countries, people are left without the ability to actually pay for the gas, with the effect that you actually need to, that then they're going back to their traditional fire, which is quite polluting and energy consuming. So by improved cook stoves, they can save half of the wood, and they can have cleaner cooking. Of course, there will still be a little bit of smoke, but it's much less than before. Then they are able to do much better, and because that's a sustainable solution for them. It doesn't have extra cost once they have the installation, and therefore we think that we have so many millions of people still cooking with very simple ways, which really could be changed. And we just finished this eco-village development project where more than half of all the villages, even the Indian village, people were cooking on traditional chulas or three stones. When we engage in EU policies, we're also promoting transition to 100% renewable energy. We are working on having requirements of efficient products, so-called eco-design regulations, and we are working on webinars and seminars, also sometimes in English, but also other languages. And we have a website where we now lately have been developing, in addition to what you see here, also some databases of local solutions, one for East Africa and one for South Asia. And a little bit of the future plans, which I hope we can also discuss. We really think we should have a strive toward access to energy for all, improving cooking for all, because we see that it has been, over the time, it has been easier to develop electricity for all than cooking, where you say, for whatever reason, logically, it's simpler to have improved cook stoves, but reality is that electricity is developing faster. We should build on experience with local solutions, with village development. Of course, this is not something that the network is doing by itself. It's about involving the members. Then we work on sustainable lifestyle, live a good life with a low footprint, low climate footprint, a low source footprint, a low pollution. And then we should keep uniting civil society from all over the world on sustainable energy. So that's a hope we can continue on this. Yes. Thank you. And this is our website. Good. So that was my presentation. And if I was too fast, you can have a copy of the presentation. Oh,
thank you, Gunnar.
I just heard somebody wrote in the chat there was a problem with audio. Did you hear me?
Yes, I think some had a problem with the audio, but we could hear. But as I mentioned earlier, the voice was a bit low, but we could hear it. And thank you for that excellent presentation. And it was good to see the in depth of AIWC's involvement with INFORSE over the years. Because right from the beginning, see that we have done a lot of programs. And also we have contributed to your websites and to the case studies and to development of handbook and in several other efforts. And I also remember we had a program of Southern Voices. Wasn't that through INFORSE? Or was it?
Yes, that was INFORSE.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, we have had a series of projects. One was called this low carbon development, and one was called Southern Voices, and then we had this eco-village development, all
Yeah.
in the last 10 years since I think they started back in 2011 or something.
Yes. So I remember that Southern Voices, we were one of the active partners. We had conducted a number of programs across the country. So overall,
Yes.
it has been a very fruitful association, and also
Okay.
it's also mentioned here, though I left it out in the introduction. Gunnar very actively follows the negotiations at the COPs. And since we are not so policy oriented, that means our AIWC members are not so very familiar with the policies and negotiations. He has been a great help to us in understanding what goes on at the negotiations. And invariably, after every COP, he comes up with a very good, very concise, and to the point summary of the COP. This year also he has done it. It is just a one pager, but if you go through that one page, you will understand what has gone on at the negotiations over the past 2 weeks and what were the decisions. So thank you, Gunnar, for that. That has been a sort of guiding point for us to understand about the COP agreements and about the negotiation process as such. So now I request our Secretary General, Dr. Manju Kak, to give her comments and responses to Mr. Gunnar's presentation. Manju?
Yeah, good. Today it's good afternoon here. I don't know what it is there, but good afternoon to both of you, Judith and Gunnar. And it was a very nice presentation. It recaptured our history and our cooperation with you. When you were talking about eco villages and other things, one thing struck me. When we were children, I remember. Usko band karo. Nahi, band karo. बंद करो आवाज आ रही है when we were children, many of these things, the habits that we have now for energy saving or for ecology saving, these were things that were ingrained into us from the value system of the schools. And I was discussing this with Usha in the morning. It was just part of our value system, part of our education. And we found the same resonance in the villages also, where the villages, they had the same resonance, where whatever we learned and we understood, they also had. But somewhere there is a divide, a middle, in the urban sectors of society. At least in these 4 decades that I have lived, there has been a gap in the educational system where what those people who have often come from villages and settled as migrants in urban areas have forgotten those energy saving or those ecological consciousness of their own home villages, where this was just part of the thinking, Mother Nature, through spiritual practices, through religious practices, of whether it was food, whether it was of water, whether it was of keeping clean air. These were things that were just part of their psyche. But coming to the urban areas, coming and living in slums or as migrants, or even not in slums, as workers in towns and urban areas, somewhere in these last 4 decades, they have succeeded in helping to destroy the planet by leaving all those practices behind. And neither has our urban educational system, which is there, which is called public education system, that has not ingrained this. So while we've had a competitive for the 3 R's, that is, sciences, technology, etc., to earn for employment, all these ecological practices our educational system has somehow left behind. So it is really important that now we come back to that and we reinforce it. And of course, your eco village is especially exciting for me, because I think there are also many practices that villages have, especially in our indigenous communities, that are very similar and that are actually good for the planet, that we need to also relearn from them. So having said that, thank you very much and hope to interact with you more and further. And I look forward to those that one pager presentation of the outcomes of the COP, I'm really sorry I missed it yesterday. Bye-bye and thank you for giving me this chance.
Thank you, Manju. Now I request Dr. Upasana Singh, Treasurer, to give her remarks and comments.
Yeah, thank you, Usha. It was a very engrossing webinar today because I attended COP28 for the first time and met Judith and Gunnar there. And I saw the kind of work and the impression they have on the people, those who were there. It shows their hard work for many, many years. And I'm really happy to see that our AIWC is also joining hands for many years with them. And in fact, I remember Raymond Miles also and Lalita Balakrishnan also. The Raymond Miles person and Lalita Balakrishnan herself came to my village center and, inspected some work that we were doing there for biogas and all. And there in COP28, the main agenda was that it ended with the beginning of the end of fossil fuel era. So we hope that with the kind of teams that Gunnar has, that a network of 140 NGOs all over the globe, that is very, very impressive. And with his goal that access to energy for all and improved cooking for all. I think this is a basic need. Cooking and safe cooking and accessible cooking for all is very, very much, today's need. So, and another one which is very impressing, when I was hearing his, presentation and seeing it, keep uniting civil society globally. He is working selflessly, and our AIWC has lots of members in the nook and corner of our country. We are there to join hands, and I wish them all the best. And we also look forward to work under their guidance also and motivation also, and give our best to the country, not only the country but to the world society. Thank you so much. Thank you, Usha.
Thank you, Upasana. Our senior patron, Beena Jain ma'am, has also joined. Beena ji, can I request you to say a few words? Because she has been associated with many of these activities for long years. Beena ji?
Thank you very much, Usha. Thank you very much. But I know you have said it very rightly that I was involved, I was with Lalita Balakrishnan from the beginning. And she gave me that solar, small pieces solar for houses. I was the first one to use that in my house. So it's a very good program, and I must appreciate Lalita Balakrishnan. She was too engrossed in this, and she did a lot of work. And today's presentation is superb to understand. And I feel that people should see this type of work, what people are doing. And it is very good for our country. And everybody should understand and take up this program. And it is needed. And thank you very much. Thanks a lot that you gave me the opportunity to speak also and send me the link to attend. Thank you, Usha ji.
Thank you, Beena ji. And I think our senior member, Farida Hussain, has joined. Is she there, Bhuneshwari? Can you please check? Because she is one of the earliest earliest members of AIWC to go for COP, and we just saw her photo in the presentation also. So I had invited her to join. Is she there?
No, couldn't find.
You couldn't find. Okay. Then shall we open the floor now? And I see that from INSEDA, Sanjeev, Mr. Nathan has joined. Would you like to add to what Gunnar has already told us about INSEDA and your association with INFORSE?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving me some time for Actually, INSEADA has long association with AIWC and of course INFORSE, Gunnar has already mentioned. And but with AIWC, I also have personal, interaction with Lisa Bala Krishnan ma'am since 1990s when I was with AFPRO, and we have been working with on that project. And later, when INSEADA was formed, and then that time also as individual consultant, also I was associated with some of the AIWC conferences. One of the conferences, I I did the reporting of that. So I had long association with the IWC, and I have seen some of the projects also when I was in NAFTO of IWC. And then, of course, we have worked on biogas and smokeless stoves long back in those days. And coming back, I think now again we are focusing on smokeless stoves and all that. So as Gunnar has already mentioned, we have created a model village uh, in Margul, where we have installed a couple of this smokeless stoves, Jwala, in all the families, and several other technologies. We have created that model, and of course, with AIWC, I think we can take forward this concept for the country, because the AIWC is well established for the country, well established. We have large networks, so I think Gunnar and INFORSE and AIWC make a very good coordination, and whatever technical support from INSEADA is required, we are always open. INSEADA is always open to that, and hopefully, if we can work out a joint project some way, then it will be great as work, because we have AWC has a great foundation, and Gunnar and all and Enforce and INSEADA together we can do, I think, much more. So thank you. I wish all the best to everyone, and thank you once again for giving me time to speak. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Mr. Nathan. Yes, INSEADA and AWC have done several projects together, and Raymond Miles and Zareen Miles, they have also been part of our team at many of the COPs. We used to share exhibition space with them also. I had invited both of them to join and tell us about their association with INFORSE and AWC, but they are having an event in their own organization today, so they are unable to join. But I'm happy that Mr. Nathan could join and tell us something about INSEADA's association with our projects. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now the floor is open. If anybody would like to make any comment or ask any questions, there are one or two questions in the chat box. I think we'll take that at the end. So now if anybody would like to speak, please unmute yourself and start. Asha ji, you want to say something? Asha Deshpande?
Yeah,
Yes.
I just wanted to say something because I attended the COP28 for the first time, and I met Judith and Gunnar, and they are so cooperative. She was a very hard worker, and we had a very good team with her, and had a discussion on the topics, and uh, we have taken some signatures and names and cards also. So I request Judith to send those to us also, because that my notebook is with her. So I request her to please send it to maybe copies of those, and we will have a collection of that also. So I really enjoyed with this, and we are very happy to have this association with them, and I'm ready to work with them and also with AIWC. And I feel that whatever the work we can do, it can be covered under socioeconomic programs, and we can go very fast along with that. Thank you very much, Ushaji.
Kalyani, would you like to?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Gunnar to give a little more details about that lifestyle which he was talking about, which was I saw in his presentation. So the lifestyle, because that is something even India is promoting a lot. They launched, I think, this life program, I think last year in the COP, and India is promoting it in a big way. So I would like to know really how INFORSE is planning it, so that, like, I mean, it's somewhere we can plug in and then do it together.
I can answer the part.
Yeah.
Gunnar, would you like?
I would answer Asha. Yes, and also to everybody to know, we had hundreds of people coming to our exhibition, or common exhibition, and it is right. We collected cards, and we have a book where people wrote in, and they were ministerial visitors. And we had been also visited by TV, televisions and radios, and also made interviews with Usha and Gunnar and me from Dubai to China. So we really were very visible. So we had a good place there in the corner. And I mean, all the team, all India Women Conference and us, we really had a fun time, but also very valuable contacts we collected. So yes, we should send them over to you also and process it.
Yeah. And then about the lifestyle, it has been taken up in the last few years. That, I mean, it has always been there, even back at the Rio conference and later in the Paris Agreement from 2015. There was this, that we should have sustainable consumption patterns, but it has not been taken up so much what it actually means, and therefore we have been waiting in a way. But then now it's been coming up and also being research field in Europe about sustainable lifestyle, or sufficiency, like we also call it, where the discussion is how we can live a good life with less consumption, not just by having energy efficiency, but also by not necessarily having bigger houses than we need, not having more transport than we need, etc. And we actually have INFORSE has a project together with researchers in Germany, France, and Italy about how to actually, which solutions are actually there, what could we expect that people would be happy with, what would be the effect of the climate if we do it, for a number of selected solutions. So this is what we are doing at the moment. And we are in the middle of the project, but it looks like that the things we are working on is to have less transport by having more functions nearby, so you don't necessarily have to travel so far to get the daily things. Of course, if you do something special, we cannot have special things all over the country, but we can have that. You don't need to travel. You can just travel by foot or by bicycle to shops and to schools and to other things which are daily needs. And the same in Europe. Many people have bigger houses than they need, and how can we make people be happy with the smaller houses? Maybe they should be improved so they are better working, the nice temperature inside all this. At the same time, if you have a family, if the family is moving out, the children are moving out, you can move to a smaller house. It's difficult. Maybe you could make that easier. You could rent out a room. There are a number of things you can do, so you don't need to build so many more houses. Also, it takes a lot of energy and resource to build houses. And also with the food, we are talking about reducing food waste, having and also having more vegetarian food. I mean, Europeans are eating too much meat, basically. And if we can eat less meat, it'll also be good for the climate. So these are the main, but there's a number of different things included in this. And there's a number of things happening already, like this with the distances. The city of Paris, which is probably the biggest city in Europe, has already engaged in a plan that everybody should be able to go to the shop and to the school within 15 minutes by bicycle. So have the functions so you can do it reasonably quick without having a car.
Thank you, Gunnar. I think that was actually
One thing I just wanted to share, that I also met one person, a young person. He said, I don't want to stay in big houses. but he will make the house. He has purchased some land and he will make the house from mud. So now we are going again back. So it's really, really very wonderful. That we are thinking about.
Sorry,
Yes,
could
Asha
you
ji.
say it again? Asha, come again. There was some noise.
Okay. So I met one person who was a young boy, and he said, I don't want to stay in big houses, but he is working. He's also engineer and working with some big company. But he said, I just wanted to stay in such a house that it will be a cool, and also in a season, say, in a sunny area, and the house will be made by the mud. That is what his idea was behind that. So I was just surprised that how can now we can go back again and have these type of houses and stay the people also in that.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. You can combine the old tradition with the modern design. So you can have like a clever design, for instance, speaking about houses, about how you're making a clever design of the house to make it cool, so the sun is not overheating it. And also, if it's a cold in the winter, also how you can keep it warm in the winter. And at the same time, use traditional materials like mud and wood instead of concrete and steel. And I think that's also in Denmark, mostly wood has been in fashion because we have the nearby Scandinavian countries like Norway, there's so much wood. So they have a long tradition in using wood instead of concrete and steel.
But
And
I would like,
I think
yeah.
Judith mentioned that you have yourself moved into a sustainable community. Is that so? You can tell us a little more about that?
Yes, that's also in Denmark, and I think all over the world, there are some people who decided to move into some more sustainable communities or eco-villages, which is not like the ones we are working with the INFORSE, because in INFORSE we are working with existing villages that need to be upgraded. But this is just new development. Instead of building normal new houses, we have built a house which we have been using some mud bricks and wood instead of cement, and we are heating it, instead of heating it with traditional gas or coal, we're heating it with solar and wood, and we are also having growing our own vegetables. We were lucky enough that we could get a place where there was a field nearby we could grow vegetables. So we're happy to live there. And it also, because everybody who went there has the same interest, so it's also give a good neighborhood.
And there are about 120 houses and about 400 people living in this community. And we also have, all this what Gunnar mentioned, also community houses. And the mud was one of the two earth blocks are also part of the construction of the houses. And I just would like to add to the previous about the lifestyle, this EU project, which we have, EU Horizon project, which we have together with this research group from Italy and Germany and France. They also have an angle on India and also about comparing it and look at how it could develop for the Indian middle class. Because
and lower class.
And low class also, but it is a question that if there is an option that which development, how they would they develop the same way like the Western European and American lifestyle, or would they make lifestyle changes, policies for lifestyle changes in India, because there's and also other developing countries which could also, like Kenya and all the others, but it is and China, of course, but there is actually we have made some interviews and also some case studies in India and also was proposed by All India Women Conference, some of the cases. How to recycle, how to, so it is also about repairing and recycling, and not only about transport. So it is a very important issue for the future now, which is also All India Women Conference also already engaged some of it, and this could be also a way to work together in the future.
That's very interesting. I'm sure we'll be able to work together on this also, since both the Indian government is also very much interested in taking this forward. And it is very interesting to note that almost 90 years back, Mahatma Gandhi had propagated the idea of Swaraj, that means own government. And he was imagining sustainable villages, self-sufficient villages, not sustainable, self-sufficient villages. And he had broadly outlined how a village could be made self-sufficient in every respect. As Gunnar mentioned, having schools and all other institutions, plus growing their own food, and having even, cobblers and carpenters and everybody within the village itself, so that you don't have to go out for any need. All your needs are met by the village itself. So maybe we could start working revising our knowledge about Swaraj, and then borrow some ideas from that and take it into.
Hello, sir. ഇത് നന്നായിട്ടുണ്ട്, പക്ഷേ ഒരു കാര്യം കൂടെ.
Whichever project we work on, we must be able to integrate the ideas of Swaraj of Mahatma Gandhi also into that. That would be interesting. We must try and do that. So Manjuka wants to ask something. Manju, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that, we already have awareness programs in which part of what you're saying, we are already doing it through awareness programs funded by AIWC. If you could give us a few parameters that you feel we can include based on your research of lifestyle changes, we would include it in our awareness programs, which are done at the micro level. They are one-day programs in which all these things that you are mentioning, we are already imparting. So that is one thing. The second thing is, of course, that, due to the Panchayati Raj bill, which was passed, which gave 33% reservation of women in local bodies, which happened in the 90s in India. Through that, there are many, many aspects of the Panchayati Raj bill which deal with not just empowerment, but with a financial aspect of devolving financial power to them, and they are allowed to use that money as they like. So my suggestion is, on lifestyle changes, very important to work with the block development officers of Indian society and Indian agriculture and the farming communities on a level, because the block development officers, so just like the Melinda Bill Gates Foundation as well as the Johns Hopkins universities are working institutionally with the state governments, so that they are imparting these knowledge bases to state governments through the Panchayati Raj system to the block development officers. So this is my suggestion to you, because this is being replicated by other international organizations and in partnership with state governments. Of course, then you would need a via media like the AIWC or something to translate what your objective is to our thing. But that way you would not just, it would be a multiplier effect. And it is very needed. And as Usha said, it is very much part of the vision statement of not just the current government, but the vision statement of our founding fathers from the time of Gandhiji. It's part of our ethos and culture. So let's talk about it more. And certainly,
Yes, we'll be happy to do that. I think we should
hear what I said.
I think first we need a dialogue about which of the things that we have been working on in Europe are relevant for India. They might not all be relevant, but you will know what is the things which are relevant. And then when it comes to the village level, I think what we also can maybe take some of the things we work with this project with the eco-village development in South Asia, about, for instance, tree planting and other things, where it's not just about plant any trees, but plant trees which are useful for the villagers, so it can contribute to their
Yes.
food
So
production, for instance.
we need to create a template. Let's create a template together of what is relevant to us and what is relevant to, and start off with our awareness programs, which we are already doing. And after cultivating that and doing it, we can go to the next step. But certainly, as Usha says, that we would be very interested, because this is something close to most of us, most of our hearts.
And we can also add some other things like energy efficiency, because learning about little basics about energy efficiency is also very useful. So you can know how you can do the same things with much less energy, so you don't have to, on the one hand, pay for it.
This is something that our President Kalyani Raj has already had the foresight. As I said, we all grew up with these things, but the new urban generation seems to have left that behind. So she has had the foresight, and we have started those programs. I'm giving a lot of these programs to the branches on energy efficiency, which Kalyani has introduced with the help of the public sector energy efficiency unit, corporation. And we can make a small report for it. Kalyani can make a small report for it and send it to you, so that you can also benefit from our experience, piloted by Kalyani. Okay?
Yes.
And I would like to, I just like to add to that about the research project. One of the biggest angle of this research project is asking about 10,000 people what motivates people, because one of the very important things about this lifestyle, that what motivates you to be more sustainable, to using a bicycle, to recycle.
Absolutely.
So it is very, and it is a very, very difficult one. It costs much less money than investing into solar cells, but about people's mind that how to change to sustainable is also a very crucial thing, but it's not so easy. So there is this big research project which is tied to asking what motivates people. And then when we come to the results, we would be very happy to share, and then we could see also that what is useful for you.
So let us have a brainstorming on it to create a template. We can have a smaller committee to have that brainstorming, and we will certainly take that aspect forward. You have my guarantee. And as you already know, that our president has been doing this already for the last 1 year. So let us talk about it. And thank you so much for all of this. And especially thank you, Usha, for putting it all together. She has been our guiding spirit and guiding light all through. Thank you.
Thank you, Manju. Anybody else would like to join the discussion? Yeah, Bhuneshwari, would you like to add to that?
No, actually, the thing is, everybody has spoken so much, and we had a very good presentation. This gave a good overview of what our relationship is all about. The AIWC INFORSE relationship, long-standing one, and yesterday's webinar, that gave a very clear picture of the projects that you are having, and we are hopeful that we will be also, AIWC will also be able to take up some of those projects, and local solutions. It was very familiar. Those ideas were very familiar, but how to do it, we would like to have your guidance, and that is what I have to say. And I'm quite hopeful that we will be able to take on some of those projects somewhere in India, and even in Kerala we can try to have it, and we'll take forward this relationship further. So that is a very good presentation. Thank you.
Yeah. What she mentioned yesterday's webinars, yesterday actually INFORSE had 2 webinars. One was presenting their eco village project, which they had done in 4 countries. And the second one was about summing up of the COP28 experiences. That is what Bhuvneshwari was referring to just now. Gunnar, would you like to make some concluding remarks?
Yeah, we could just say that we are, thank you for organizing this webinar, and we are looking forward to continue the cooperation. We will take up some of the things which was mentioned here about sustainable lifestyles and which are the actual elements that could be useful in India and beyond. And we will also work on other things like what we talked about, energy access for all and access for all for cleaner cooking. So I think we have a lot to do in the future, and we're looking forward to continue the cooperation.
Yes, certainly. There are many common areas like alternate energy, energy efficiency, energy conservation. We have already been working on all these together. So we can certainly take this forward. And sustainable lifestyles is another big thing that has come into limelight now. It reminds me of the book Radical Simplicity. I forget the author's name. It was published some 30 years back. And it spells out sustainable living in a very detailed way. The author had come to Kerala and he had visited some of our branches, and he explained to us. Actually, he came here to see our lifestyles, how the simple lifestyles of the villages are in India. He was preparing a documentary on that. I forget his name now, but that was a very interesting book. And he himself lives in a community, in a sustainable community. But I thought his ideas were far too radical because they were not, he and his wife both were here with their son, little son, 10-year-old boy. They were not sending him to school because they were homeschooling him. And he was kept away from computers, mobile phones, and all the modern things. So I said, then how is it that he can come out and live in this world? So he says, no, when the time comes, initially we don't want to expose him to all these stimuli. And he himself has started, they teach him at home. So he had started reading, writing, and by every other parameter, academically, he was at par with the children of equivalent age otherwise in the schools. So I asked him, when he, after all that, when he comes and mixes with the world, how will he manage if he doesn't know anything about computers, anything about mobile phones? So they were saying, no, once he gets all the fundamentals right, then he can go out and live a life which is which follows a sustainable lifestyle. So that was another interesting thought that came to my mind. So with this, shall we wind up now? If there are no more questions or comments, we can wind up. So Bhuvneshwari, can you please the vote of thanks? Would you like to say something, Gunnar?
Yeah, just, I mean, we can continue discussion because now what you're telling, I just want to tell that in Denmark and other European countries, even the schools are discussing that they should not allow the pupil to have mobile phone during the lessons because it distracts them, and they are better to learn the things via the traditional ways. And then also about this sustainable lifestyle in India, we interviewed a number of sustainable lifestyle initiatives in India, and there's a report coming out, including a kind of school where they're trying to teach teenagers sustainable lifestyle. It's part of an ashram, but it was quite interesting, and we have the report coming out.
Thank you, Gunnar, for those comments. And Bhuvneshwari, now you can go ahead with the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Shaji. Yes, as I already said, this was a very good meeting and presentation. And, after the week-long association in our stall in Dubai, and then yesterday's webinars, 2 webinars, it sort of feels a continuation of the relationship that we have. And in Dubai, we have seen how dedicated both Mr. Gunnar and Judith were, the way they were working very hard. And that was an inspiration for us, and a very infectious one also, I should say that. And on behalf of AIWC, I would like to thank Mr. Gunnar and Judith for being here today for this webinar and also making this excellent presentation for the benefit of all our members. And thank you, Gunarji and Judithji. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. I would also like to thank our senior members, our Srimati Kalyani Raj, President, who is here, and Manju Kak Madam, our patron, respected Beena Jain ji. Then we had Kuljit Kaur ji and many senior members of AIWC. I would like to thank also Mr. Sanjeev Nathan of INSIDA, who joined this webinar and also expressed his views and also expressing his interest in a joint project with AIWC. Thank you very much for joining us. And Asha ji, thank you very much. We have just been there for a week there. Thank you for being here. And last but not the least, Usha ji, thank you for organizing this such a wonderful webinar. And it has been really eye-opener. And for people like me, like who are new, these are all very good, opportunity to understand AIWC more and also the various projects and organizations like INFORSE. Thank you very much. I hope I have not left out anybody. Everybody who has joined here, I would like to thank everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhuneshwari. So for all AIWC, I would like to say that we will be continuing this series. We have already covered, as I mentioned earlier, our EcoSoc consultancy status, Solar Cookers International, and now INFORSE. So next, I hope to have a webinar on IAW, International Alliance for Women, in which Manju Kak has been a vice president, and she has offered to help me have a webinar on that, because we need to understand our association with IAW, which is a very old organization, International Women's Organization. So we hope to have that, and then it will continue with other organizations with which AIWC has affiliation. So I hope all of you will join those webinars also. I thank all of you for joining this webinar and making it a very interesting one. The interactions were also interesting, and Gunnar and Judith, thank you for being with us for a long time and spending your time, and also in preparing the presentations, because I know you have been very, very busy post-COP, preparing the summaries, preparing for yesterday's webinars and everything. You must have been on your toes and burning the midnight oil, but in spite of all that, you have joined and really enriched our knowledge about the association between INFORSE and the work that you have been doing across the world. Thank you so much. And I thank all my friends who have joined.
Sorry,
thank you, Usha ji. Thank you, Bhuneshwari.
I had left out Upasana ji's name. I'm sorry. And thank you so much, Upasana ji, for joining and then speaking at this meeting.
Thank you, Bhuneshwari and Usha ji.
Yeah,
from WA. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Goodbye.
Also from our side.
Goodbye. Goodbye to Judith. Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Right. Abhuma, I'm sorry I could not give you a chance to speak. Maybe at the...
Not all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm ending the webinar here. Thank you.
Thank you.